I won't sing junk, what I consider to be. I might be completely wrong, other people might think it's fantastic, but in my own personal rating, if I think it's junk, then I won't do it. It's as simple as that. And I learnt that from George.
Talking about George Martin, he was instrumental in getting you into a recording career, quite by accident, really.
I'd been with 2 recording companies. I'd been with Decca and I'd been with Fontana. And they dropped me. They both dropped me after a year. And if you heard the 6 records I made between them, you'll realise why they did drop me, because they were diabolical. Integrity comes into it once again. I recorded junk. It's as simple as that. And the public are not that gullible. They will not buy junk. And George phoned me one day, and Peter Sellers was making a new album called Songs for Swinging Sellers. And he had a song especially written called You Keep Me Swinging, which he wanted to use as the opening track on the album. And he wanted someone to sing it the way he thought, or the way that person thought Sinatra might possibly interpret this song. It wasn't meant to be an impersonation of Sinatra. And George called me out of the blue. I'd never met George Martin before. Would I be interested in doing it purely as a demonstration record for Peter? So I said, yeah. I was skint, didn't have 2 bob, and the tide's coming in, and I'm going to get soaked in a minute. But apart from that, it's a lovely spot anyway. And George said, would I do it? And I did. And I think I got about, I don't know, 20 quid, I think, for doing it. And it was with Ron Goodwin and with a big orchestra, and it turned out to be a very good track, as it happens. Well, Peter heard it, and he said, well, I'm not a singer, but I like the idea of the thing, because the album is called Songs for Swinging Sellers, and the song is You Keep Me Swinging. And I'd like to use it as the opening track on the album. So he said, but we must do something about it. So we went into the studio, and we did a real cod Sinatra, what we call a cod Sinatra, or cod anything. I did a cod Sinatra. Once again, it wasn't really an impersonation, but it was my interpretation as maybe Sinatra would do it. And Peter dubbed me Fred Flange, which is a lovely piece of Sellersism, I suppose. And on the album, there was a blurb on the album about this chap Fred Flange is a Capitol singer, as Frank was then on Capitol Records. Due to contractual difficulties, we cannot reveal his true identity. Well, it created a lot of interest. People were saying, who was Fred Flange, you know? And George then phoned, asked me if I'd like to record under my own name, which I said, naturally, yes. And that was, he said, well, I've got a pretty song in the office. He said that maybe we could do a sort of Nat King Cole. So I said, oh, come on, not another impression. He said, no, exactly you, your own name. He said, but that sort of treatment, you know. And I went in and I recorded a song called Portrait of My Love. And I think within 3 weeks it was in the charts. And it's my first hit. And it stayed in the charts for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that sort of 1961 was the big turning point in my life, in actual fact. I mean, it's dictated whatever I've done ever since, really.
Matt, let's go back a little bit. Early on in your career, you recorded a demo disc, and somehow it got into the hands of Winnie Atwell, and I believe she did quite a lot to further your career.
What happened was I was with a dance band for a little while after I came out of services. And it was my first really professional job. And while I was in Glasgow, I wanted to hear myself on record. I'd never made a record. We went into a studio in Scotland, in Glasgow, and the biggest studio. And I cut a private record, that was all. And it was borrowed by one of the band, and I really haven't seen it to this day, in actual fact. I think my brothers got hold of it. I don't know where from. But somehow or other, over the next couple of years, it eventually got into the hands of Winnie. And she liked it, and she asked me to come and see her at the Palladium where she was appearing there. And she introduced me to Dick Rowe of Decca Records, and Cyril Stapleton, the BBC show band. And I appeared on Winnie's Radio Luxembourg programs as a regular guest each week. Winnie was the springboard for me. I mean, she gave me every opportunity anybody could ever ask for.
Matt, I believe there's another connection with Winifred Atwell, because your name's not always been Matt Monro, has it?
No, it's, my real name is Terence Parsons. And when Winnie discovered me, the powers that be decided that Terry Parsons really didn't look very well in print. And there's a guy in England who is Australian, works in Sydney on the Mirror. He was working for the Sketch in London, and he gave me a big centre-page spread and singing Bus Drive and all this business. And his name was Matt White, and I took Matt from him. And Winifred Atwell's father, his name was Monro Atwell, so we took Monro from him and Matt from Matt White.
So she's really been a bit of a lucky charm for you, hasn't she?
Has, indeed, yeah.